If you have $25,000 and you want a BMW M car with a screaming V10 and an 8,250 RPM redline, the M6 E63 is the most car you can buy for the money, but only if you understand the trap waiting underneath. Welcome back to Buy or Buy, the channel that breaks down every known problem with used cars so you don't waste your money. Today we're doing a full explainer on the 2005 to 2010 BMW M6. Let's get right into it. Section 1. Who this car is actually for. Look, I'm talking directly to the hardcore enthusiast today. You need to have between $25,000 and $40,000 sitting in your bank account, fully liquid and ready to deploy. But more importantly, you absolutely need a strictly non-negotiable maintenance war chest just to sit at this table. If you're seriously hunting for an M6, you're probably cross-shopping it against a very specific list of rivals. You're looking at the BMW E60 M5, which gives you the exact same V10 but in a heavier sedan body. Maybe the BMW E92 M3 V8, which is slightly smaller and frankly cheaper. Or perhaps you're eyeing the Mercedes CLS 63 AMG W219, the Porsche 997 Turbo, or if you're incredibly patient, an Audi RS6 V10 wagon. But let's be honest, the buyer who actually pulls the trigger on the M6, they are prioritizing that S85 V10 soundtrack and an 8,250 RPM redline over any semblance of modern reliability. And they specifically want a two-door Grand Tourer layout, not a four-door sedan. But before you even think about signing a title, look closely at this number. You need a $3,000 to $6,000 preventative maintenance fund earmarked from day one, specifically for rod bearings. Do not tell yourself you'll get around to it later. If you don't have this cash on hand on top of the purchase price, you simply cannot afford this car. Bottom line. Section 2, where it shines. Now, despite the absolute financial anxiety we're going to cover shortly, the engineering triumphs hiding beneath the sheet metal actually make the M6 a screaming bargain on the used market. The S85 V10 engine is a masterpiece developed completely by BMW Motorsport. It's actually one of only 2 production V10s ever placed in a BMW road car, alongside the E60 M5. We're talking Formula One-inspired architecture here. You're getting individual, electronically actuated throttle bodies for each of the 10 cylinders. Add in highly advanced double Vanos variable valve timing and a complex semi-dry sump lubrication system just to keep everything oiled during high G cornering. And then there's this number, 8,250. That is the red line, and it demands your attention. Literally nothing in BMW's current turbocharged lineup matches this figure. It is an auditory and mechanical triumph that will absolutely rattle the windows of the cars next to you. On top of that, the M6 is exceptionally rare in absolute terms. Designed by Karl Elmit under the direction of Adrian van Hooydonk, BMW produced exactly 14,152 total global units. If you snag a coupe, it features a standard carbon fiber roof straight from the factory to give you a lower center of gravity, and the software was way ahead of its time. You get 3 specific power modes, P400 to limit things to 400 horsepower, P500 for the full output, and P500 Sport for the sharpest throttle mapping. Plus, the M-Drive customization lets you cycle through 11 different SMG shift maps. But here is the real secret. 90% of buyers opted for the 7-speed SMG-III automated manual. However, a highly specific U.S. market 6-speed manual option does exist. Approximately 1 in 10 buyers ordered it, making the M6 the only V10 Grand Tourer with 3 pedals that you can buy used today for under $40,000. Bottom line? Section 3. Where it disappoints. Okay, let's brutally transition out of the honeymoon phase. Welcome to the nightmare financial reality of owning the S85 engine. That $3,000 to $6,000 figure I mentioned earlier, it is not a suggestion, it's a mandatory tax. Rod bearing failure is entirely universal on the S85. The factory bearing clearances are completely inadequate for the forces happening inside this block. If you do not preventatively replace them, the bearings will fail catastrophically and destroy the engine. You have to budget $3,000 to $6,000 at a specialist for this preventative repair. Treat any car in the market without recent verified bearing service as a literal ticking time bomb. Next up on the chopping block is the transmission. If you own the SMG-III, hydraulic pump and accumulator failures are an incredibly common trap. A basic rebuild is going to run you $2,500 to $5,000. It's such a well-documented headache that a lot of owners skip the rebuild completely and just budget $8,000 to $15,000 for a full conversion to a manual gearbox, utilizing the GS653BZ TJGC from an E92 M3. And the pain definitely doesn't stop there. Throttle actuator failures, specifically caused by internal gear wear, are going to cost you between $1,500 and $4,000 per side. And remember, the M6 has 2 banks of 5 cylinders each, so you have 2 actuators. And guess what? Both are going to fail. Bottom line? Section 4, the numbers that matter. We're going to do a rapid-fire statistical and technical data dump for the analytical buyers out there, so pay close attention. Under the hood, you are looking at the S85B50 engine code. That's a 5.0-liter naturally aspirated V10 pushing exactly 500 horsepower at 7,750 RPM. You get 384 pound-feet of torque peaking at 6,100 RPM, all operating under an 11.0 to 1 compression ratio. How does that translate to the asphalt? 0 to 60 miles per hour happens in 4.4 seconds. The top speed is electronically limited to 155 miles per hour, but if you have the M driver's package delete, it runs all the way up to 190. Production spanned from October 2005 through July 2010, exclusively at the Dingolfing plant. And if you want the updated tech and lighting, you need to look for the LCI facelift models produced after September 2007 for the 2008 model year. Out of those total units built globally, 9,087 were E63 coupes and 5,065 were E64 convertibles. And a quick warning, if you buy the convertible, you completely lose that standard carbon roof. Currently used market pricing stretches anywhere from $18,000 to $40,000. That is a massive spread, and it depends entirely on the mileage, whether it has the SMG or the manual transmission, and crucially, whether the seller actually has verified rod-bearing service paperwork. Bottom line, verdict, buy. The M6 E63 is the affordable entry point to the only V10 BMW ever sold to the public. It is the specific M6 generation that driving purists vastly prefer over the heavier F12 twin-turbo that followed it. It is entirely unique. But you cannot just buy the first one you see. You need the golden specification. Purists specifically want an S85 Grand Tourer Coupe with the carbon roof and the 6-speed manual option. Do not even touch one without documented rod-bearing replacement. Now, if you are looking at an SMG-equipped car, you need verifiable clutch maintenance records, and honestly, you should only purchase it if it's priced well below $25,000. You're going to need the remaining cash to fund the inevitable hydraulic rebuild. I'll leave you with this final warning. It is an immediate buy to every single car without verified bearing service paperwork. Do not negotiate. Do not think you found a secret deal. The deferred maintenance trap will cost significantly more than whatever discount you get up front. So the final question is this. Are you willing to underwrite the massive mechanical sins of the past just to hear an 8,250 RPM V10 screaming in your garage?